the notion of how you build social sustainability. And that's true at multiple scales. And one of them is at obviously the level of an office space. And we've done quite a bit of observation and found that generally speaking in a corporate office space, if it's of a certain variety, you'll have, say, the president of that group on one end of the corridor and at the other end, the vice president. In between is the elevator lobby, and if you step off the elevator, you're greeted usually by a secretary. And if you're there to see the president's team or the vice president's team, you turn either left or right. And so there builds up an army of people who support each person. So you have the army that support the president, the army that support the vice president. They usually don't agree, and the secretary that sits in the middle has to take all the hell from both sides.
Right.
They're the sort of middle ground, and so that built up an understanding of what it means to position people, master planning space for people to either coexist or fight against each other. And intriguingly, I've been talking a lot about, of course, the Capitol in Washington, D.C. and the government complex these days in that world. Most people don't really understand how the offices or the character of work life in the Capitol exists. We just see a Capitol building, and there's, a Senate office building over there, and the White House over there and the Supreme Court over there. But most people don't understand actually how they're laid out. But I've spent time looking at it. And over the years, over the past 10 to 15 years, they have actually altered or changed the office layout of the Congress. It used to be very mixed. And although the Capitol is clearly suggestive of two separated groups, the Senate and the House, which makes sense. But all the people that work in those groups were not segregated before. The House mixed Republican, Democrat. They had shared office spaces. The Speaker of the House sat in the middle and was able to collect all the groups. The senators sat relatively mixed. In the Senate office building, they were not arranged by floor. But over time, as we've begun to kind of build up a polarization, everybody's been split. So Republicans sit in one area, Democrats often sit in another area. The Speaker of the House no longer sits in the middle. And even the rotunda itself is demarcated so that you can't really freely mix if you work there.
Wow.
There are these ropes that are built up. And the more that we do that, the more polarized we get from a work ethic. And I'm right now thinking about a way to try and get Congress and the political capital of our society to function more like an innovative space, like you might find at Airbnb or Microsoft or Ford or any of these companies, where they're building up, like our office, ways to interact, sharing meeting rooms. So you're forced to have to deal with sharing a meeting room with someone you don't necessarily agree with. We need to get that back into politics. Architecture plays a role in politics and in essentially in our social life and the society we build, but we've kind of pushed it off because we think, well, that's politics. No, it's architecture.